start recording. Let's do that first. Hello, we're back. I am less sick, still a little bit sick. So
accents today. I don't even.
I will attempt some accents, but my voice still isn't awful. It might is a big, heavy might. But we're back. I have fixed my levels because that pissed me off really badly last time. And what's it called? So you can actually hear me properly. You can also hear the game because I know last time the the music that was really funky when Beatrice's letter came in wasn't working. I also won't be blowing my nose every 30 seconds. So, let's start. You're right, it is there. Load from this point, because that's where George was.
Fucking George.
Okay. This fucker was American.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah. It seems the weather will be like this all day tomorrow after all. Dang, this makes good... Fuck me, where are my glasses? Stupid idiot. Dang, this makes the good weather we had earlier feel like a lie. My glasses didn't do anything, I just now am more coherent. George, Anarchy, and I were killing time in front of the parlor television. At that point, Jessica returned. Okay, I won't do Jessica's voice, because I have to, go up an octave, so I'm just going to do Jessica normally, I think. Oh, I did not read what she said. Is Maria still in front of the portrait? Nope. She just came back, and she's sleeping over on the sofa. It's getting pretty late for her, after all. Looking at the clock, I saw it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were planning to stay up all night, it was about time we head back to our room. Well, my mom did have a room prepared for us in the mansion. What'll we do? I'd rather head back... Well, this is George. I'd rather head back to the guest house. Going by what we saw of our parents, I think it'd be better if we weren't in the mansion. I agree. It feels like they're telling us kids to mind our own business and stay out of their way. Right, because Rudolph just said he might die. Let's be good little boys and girls and do that. Weird. As we were talking about this, Aunt Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria. Aunt Rosa, if you're looking for Maria, she's over on the sofa. Thank you. My, she's out cold. We must move her to a bed. If you'd like, I'll carry her over to her bed. Thanks, that would be wonderful. The switch up between Maria and George is actually quite hard, because I give Maria a kind of posh Australian accent, and I give George a very American accent. Are you all heading back to the guest house? Or are you going to stay in the room Natsuhini-san? She's British now, never mind. Natsuhini-san. That's Rudolph. Rudolph, go to sleep. Rudolph, go to sleep.
You can't let the voice in your head take control of you.
I can't escape him. I can't escape him. Or are you going to stay in the room Natsuhini-san had prepared here? We were just talking about that. We just decided to head over to the guest house. I see. Then, could I ask you to take Maria with you? I'd feel much more at ease and much more reassured if she stays with all of you cousins. Behind those words, she seemed to be concealing some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings. Leave it to us, Aunt Rosa. After all, we have an expert accompanying Maria with us. Are you talking about me? I couldn't do it myself. We'll need everyone together. Oh my god, I actually need to blow my nose. I've got
Oh no, the elephant's back.
Yeah. Oh, bro. I actually have tissues now, though. I just have, an air bubble stuck in my nose.
Oh no.
And so it's actually it's because I've got phlegm at the back of my throat as well. gross things with Brooklyn. That's right.
Last night is.
That's right. Oh, who's saying this? Oh, this is Jessica. That's right. Battler, weren't you the one who hit it off with Maria when you were messing around earlier? As we said this, Aunt Rosa smiled, looking truly happy. Thank you, everyone. It looks like our meeting will last until very late. So sorry to burden you like this. I'll be counting on you to take care of Maria. Hey, Maria, are you sound asleep? We're going back to the guest house. Maria muttered something indistinct, rolled over and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply. She's really out cold. I'd hate to wake her. Oh. Right, I'll carry her. Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. I lifted her up and put her on George Anaki's back. It was raining hard outside, and Anaki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. Weak. It looks like Aunt Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Krause's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return. Now that's a problem. I have to go back now. Oh, what voice did I give Shannon? I actually don't remember.
Oh, what?
I think hers was meant to be British.
Yeah, I think so.
It was similar to Maria's. I did give Maria a slightly posher Australian accent.
You mean Rosa?
Oh, Rosa, yes, sorry.
Maria's child.
I've just been reading the word Maria a lot, okay? Leave me alone! Is everyone returning to the guest house? After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shannon stepped out. Why am I having such a hard time? It has grown very dark. Allow me to guide you. Oh, fuck. Now I have to get back down to Rose's voice. That would be great, Shannon-chan. George Kuhn is going to carry Maria there. Could you hold an umbrella for him? Yes, certainly. They just got both British accents now because I can't switch between the two without it sounding the exact same. Shannon-chan, it's the same as what's it called? It's same difficulty of me switching from Rosa to George. Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden. Anaki, is she too heavy? You want me to carry her? It's okay. At least I can carry Maria-chan. I'm truly grateful. Please take care of Maria. Sure, you got it. Then I guess this is good night, Aunt Rosa. Then I will see them over here and return them here. Yes, please. Aunt Rosa watched us leave. Maria, I'm sorry for everything. Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor any of the kids, but disappeared beneath the sound of rain. It's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring. After cutting
his head and jumped on the couch in the morning.
After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house. If only I had applied for the position of Maria Carrier. Oh my god, I need to actually turn down my volume. I turned it up when we were playing on Hollis and P. If only I'd applied for the position of Maria character. Maria character? No, that's me. That's my job. Then I would have got a chance. Oh my god. This man. Then I would have gotten the chance to have Shannon-chan's huge boobs rubbing all over my arm. I'm gonna get this man. At some point. I'm gonna get him and he's gonna die and I'm gonna kill him. Ah! That's not why I did it. It's a misunderstanding. I thought that if I didn't walk like this, George Summer would get all wet. Come on, quit babbling and go in. After being urged on by Jessica, we folded up our umbrellas and went into the guest house. Why, bro? My brain not functioning. Has everyone gotten their clothes wet? I can bring some towels if you want. You don't need to worry about us that much. Thanks, Shan-chan. Ah, that's right. We were planning to play cards or something. Would you care to join us for a bit? Huh? Who had the night shift on today's schedule? I believe we had a special schedule during the family conference. Also, I think a few alterations have been made, so I will go and check. Wait, if you have to go all the way back to the mansion to find out, don't force yourself. Oh, that's all right. I can find out from the servant room in the guest house. Please excuse me for a short while. Shan-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin room and decided to put Maria to bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. For now, we'd get some soft drinks out of the room's refrigerator and drink those while playing cards or something. I have got a soft drink. I have Pepsi Max and it's nearly empty.
Yay!
Oh. Kanon-kun? And you're here too, Genji-sama. What has happened with tonight's shift? Kraus-sama has given an order. He made some sizable changes to the shift schedule. Indeed. Goro-sama now has the night shift at the mansion. Shannon and Kanon have the night shift in the guest house. Kumasawa-san and I have been ordered to sleep in the guest house. Just now, a phone call came saying that once you arrived, you are also to remain here for the rest of the night. Huh? That's certainly a sizable change. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion have been completely reversed, haven't they? Originally, Shannon and Kanon had been assigned the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa should have been sleeping at the guest house, while Genji should have been sleeping in the mansion. However, it seems that Kraus had suddenly ordered that schedule be modified. So what I'm getting is that Gorda and and Kraus are in cahoots, potentially gay lovers, and are going to try and fucking kill someone. The shift at the possibly Rudolph, and I won't have to do his fucking voice again. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house. It's probably because of Beatrice Summer's letter. Why probably? After such a mysterious letter appeared, it was only natural that Kraus Summer would suspect one of us. We served directly under the master, so Kraus Summer could have tried his best he could to keep us far away from the family conference. Genji, Shannon, and Kanon were permitted to wear the Ashuramiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ashuramiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo had held the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have dismissed them of his own accord. Because of this, Kraus and the others often viewed these servants as Kinzo's underlings and shunned them. And in fact, Kinzo seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. This sudden shift change was probably a clear expression of that sense of mistrust that had caused. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance came up. On top of that, the mysterious letter claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion. If you excuse me, I will go to rest. If anything happens, call me immediately. Our guest tonight is a special case, after all. Yes, certainly, Genji-sama. Genji nodded back went behind a screen and took off his jacket and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension. The ones who just returned now, were they the children? Yes, the other relatives are having a conference in the mansion. It looks like, fuck me, Rudolph, go away. It looks like it would drag on for quite some time. Then we've got it easy. It's already this late, and there's this weather. The rest of the relatives will probably spend the night in their rooms in the mansion. Yes, probably. I'm only saying this because Genji-sama isn't around, but I'm a little happy I was sent to the guest house, I guess. Oh? Why's that? Because you can stay away from Madame and Eva-sama, those bullies? Or do you have another reason? It's not as though I have another reason. I see. Then let's do our best together with our night shift. I'm counting on you, Nessan. Just now, I wanted to go to the children's room and play with them. Shannon hung her head apologetically, gazing at Kanon uncertainly. Kanon didn't try to meet her eyes and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister. You can't. You are assigned to the night shift. Besides which, it isn't necessary for furniture like us to respond to an invitation to play. You understand that, right? Yes, I do understand. Shannon's shoulders drooped slightly. She had already expected that Kanon, a stickler for the rules, would say something like that, but she seemed a little discouraged. As Kanon flipped through a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon. That means the children will be waiting for you. You'll have to apologize and tell them you have the night shift and won't be able to stay with them. Go and come back. Yes. I'll go apologize and come back. Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change and flew out the servants' room after giving a quick bow. As he watched her go, Kanon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen. Kanon, I will be here so you can go too. Genji-sama. Shannon was the only one called. It's not as though I was invited. That is only because you were not there at the time. If you had been, you would have been invited as well. It is good to play as a child from time to time. No such thing is necessary for me. Human children may have a need to play, but we are furniture. Is that so? Nesan is also furniture. Even if she pretends to be a person, it will only hurt her later. I understand that, so I try not to get close to people, that's all. Are they like fucking amalgamations of Beatrice or something? Because like, I understand that they're saying that because like they're servants, they're supposed to be serving, they've had this beaten into them the entire time. But from the sounds of it, it's like there's something otherworldly at this point. Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and used a pot of hot water to make some powdered cocoa, serving some for Kanon as well. Is that for real? I had no clue. Dumbass, you're too loud. You'll wake Maria up. Battler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab as he lowered his voice. Still, seriously, now that you mention it, they really did have that kind of atmosphere, didn't they? I see it now. So George couldn't be seen anywhere in the room. Where the fuck did he go? A short while ago, when Shannon came into the room, George suddenly said he'd forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shannon said she would guide him, and just like that, she'd on the way to the guest house. Just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them departed together. Well, there's been actually signs of it for a while now. You know, questions about hobbies, favorite things. I always thought it was a bit much for a passing interest. And now look what's happened now. Come on, think of it. I get the feeling George Anaki's always been overly nice to Shana-chan. Now I get it. Why are we following George? This is new. Or are we following Shannon? Oh, this is a new setting. According to the weather report, it looks like it's going to be at its worst tonight. It also seems it'll last all but day tomorrow. Though it should get a little better. Really? Then maybe the boats won't arrive until the day after tomorrow. I hope that doesn't I hope that doesn't interfere with your work on Monday. Haha. I already knew the typhoon would be coming beforehand. Just in case, I made sure I didn't have any plans for Monday, so it's okay. I may not look it, but I really am the type who can plan ahead of in his schedule. George is this otherworldly being, and he's coming out. Which person did I give the Muppet voice to?
Who?
I think I gave it to Rudolph because I was crashing out. George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the calm appearance George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this abrupt contrast. Oh, some cute music. Oh my god. It's no surprise you're so well prepared. As someone who'll bring prosperity to his company Sunday. Well, making a company prosper is a really tough job. Money isn't the only thing that's important. I learned that well when studying under my father. Making a company prosper is like owning a castle and leading your subordinates. My dad really loves reading about the great leaders during the warring periods of Japan. A hobby that's probably influenced by the fact that he shares Toyotomi Hideyoshi's name. Much of his philosophy is managing businesses comes from talking about them. Did you know? Takeda Shingen, who was feared as... Yeah, I would say Takeda Shingen, but I'm trying to say it as an American. Who was feared as the leaders of the strongest cavalry corps in the warring periods, started out with his troops in complete disarray, and didn't have the kind of strong leadership necessary to utilize them. Is that true? Oh, that's a little unexpected. In order to unite his troops, Shingen showed his excellent leadership in many ways. Of course, I gave the guy talking about warring periods the American accent. For example, when a soldier succeeded well in battle, he would immediately honor them with a medal. Normally, that kind of thing was put off until after the war, and they were all awarded at once. He continued this diligently while in the field of battle, and immediately showing his appreciation for his troops. Military exploits motivated them in an extremely significant fashion. Also, whenever one of his troops was brought down by an illness, he would be the first to rush up to them and care for them and so on. Takeda Shingen wasn't just a man who led the strongest cavalry corps in the warring periods. He was the person who cared most for his troops throughout that era. I don't care. To be honest, I'm very curious as to why we're hearing about this. It's like it's like the conversation last episode between Kiri and Battler. I'm like, what is going on? Why are we talking about this? Chessboard turning around? What the fuck? Pardon?
Is she back? Bestie?
Yes, I'm back.
Hi. I did not hear any of that, but I'm happy for you.
I was questioning why we're hearing about this, because my brain is like lagging heavily.
Point soon. Now, I just want to add, Shannon is 16 and George is 23.
I'm aware. Wait, she's 16? I thought she was like 18, like Battler and Thingy.
Nope. 16.
Bro, so she's the same age as Canon then.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good information. I really thought she was the same age as Battler and Thing. And because
Nope.
okay. And because he was that kind of person, all of his troops went along with him. The truth was, Shannon had already heard the story several years ago. But whenever a discussion of his father led to this sort of topic, George would always glow and look like he was having a great time. So Shannon just smiled without interrupting, urging him to continue. Of course, in a capitalist world, money determines both your strength and height of your fortifications, but you can't build up a castle or succeed in a war by yourself. Such things can only be accomplished with the support of many subordinates by borrowing their strength. After understanding this, when I look at my father's back, I realize how immature I am. I can clearly see how much competition he had to overcome before building up all he has now. George Summer, you truly look up to your father. I'm jealous. Sorry, that's not how I meant it. I'm sorry, that's not how I meant it either. The two of them awkwardly looked at their fate. Shannon had no parents. She had been brought up in an orphanage owned by Kinzo called Fukuin House. Under the guidance of Kinzo, their honorary director at the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job serving experience. If their efforts met with Kinzo's approval, they'd be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Ishirimiya family. Okay, so that's, I'm assuming, how Kanon and Shannon have a like sisterly brother relationship that way. This was considered to be the highest honor for those who lived in the orphanage. Servants from the Fukuin house all took names with the character on at the end of them while they served. So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same went for Kanon. All of the members of the Fukuin house were orphans. At least, they were all people who had been separated from their parents under special circumstances. Because of this, the orphans had been taught to think of each other as their only family. This is why it only seemed natural for both of them when Kanon called Shannon his sister. And while both Shannon and Kanon were working in the mansion today, there were several other servants possessing the character on in their names, such as Manon and Lennon, who often worked in rotation schedules. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ishirimiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for 10 years, since she was 6? Damn, was notable exception to the rule. Working for the Ishirimiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't that bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what she needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the orphans realized what a harsh task working for the Ishirimiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. Maybe the fact Shannon managed to continue working here for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than other servants. Maybe she'd gotten stuck working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say she wanted to quit. Kinzo couldn't even trust his own blood relatives, and these excellent servants were sent from the Fukuin house were the only ones that he could rely on. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control and have them work close to him. You've been working here for almost 10 years now, right? You must have saved up a lot of money by now. I wonder. It's not like there's anything in particular I'd like to buy. After all, a few million yen isn't enough to live off for the rest of your life. So the reason you've been working here this whole time wasn't to hit some target sum? Yes, that's right. I have nowhere to go outside this mansion, and I've been getting along well with Milady and the other young servants. Madame does scold me sometimes, but caring for the roses and cleaning the mansion is fun. But that can't be your entire life, Shannon-chan. No. Sayo-chan. Sayo? That was such an American way for me to say that. Such an Australian way for me to say that. Shannon Sayo? Shannon-chan cast her eyes downwards when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and fell silent. There is something I've learned as I've continued to study, even becoming an adult and a full-fledged member of society. A human's life is not as monotonous or short as we thought when we were kids. All school-aged kids have certain fears they can't shake. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their life like sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day, spending their time in carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it's all over. However, life's only like that for underage students. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as students is nothing more than a blink of an eye, a period where they break through the shells of their immaturity. The inside of the shells might be hot and suffocating and a boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities. So far, your life has been trapped inside the shell called Shannon. I think you're under the mistaken impression that your life will continue like this forever. That's... Shannon couldn't deny those words. She had been unable to harbour any clear doubts about her lifestyle, and since she never had any hope or goals for changing herself, she lazily continued living the way she always had. And if asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't be able to nod. She may have been intentionally averting her eyes from the truth. Without George's admonishments, she would have continued pretending not to notice her real life had slipped away bit by bit, neglected. George Summer, is it wrong for me to continue living this way? Yeah, it is. Oh, and by the way, didn't you break one of our rules just now? George immediately gave a strict answer, then broke into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for. She hung her head again, apparently embarrassed. Didn't you promise not to use Sama when the two of us are alone? Weird. I couldn't obey that promise as a promise, but if it was an order, I would have to obey it because I'm furniture. Then it's an order. I don't like the way he's looking right now.
Yeah. Bit more, I feel like that's more sexual harassment than whatever Battler's come across as so far. Like that, no eyes in the glasses, like that just always looks so creepy.
Yes. What's it called? Battler's overt sexual harassment, George's implicit sexual harassment. They're related after all.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly, George-san. As Shannon hung her head, her face spread, she said George's name again, this time following it with a san. Yes, that's fine, Sayo-chan. George smiled at Shannon, no, Sayo, and praised her small act of bravery. This short exchange alone made it clear how far back their relationship must have stretched. For a long time, the two talked as if the weather raging about them didn't even enter their thoughts. They talked about many memories they'd built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to interrupt them, but this could sully neither the roses nor the time they spent blushing at each other. Rain. Crack?
Rain, go away, crack?
No, that's right. I have something I wanted to show you. If he proposes, what could it be? George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Watching him, Shannon seemed to guess something. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something caught in the depths of his pocket, and just like stuttering George, it could take a little while to get out.
You okay, Bestie?
It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet. That particular shape was enough to tell anyone what was resting inside. Oh, bro. See, I was under the impression that Shannon was like 18, like Battler. So in my head, I'm like, okay, cute pairing. If she's 16, this is weird.
Like we're both the same age as George. I cannot, in my right mind,
I feel like I fear I must Google Shannon's age to be sure.
No! Don't Google anything! Don't Google anything!
Shannon age. Umineko.
No!
Shannon is a minor. Okay. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all I saw.
Okay, because, like, I don't know what else could have shown up.
I just came up with the Umineko Reddit, and the first thing it said there is Shannon is a minor.
She's a minor.
Okay, Shannon had prepared her heart somewhat, certain beforehand that this was what he'd been planning. Even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box and took something out and held it for Shannon to take. I want you to take this. I couldn't accept something so valuable. You can't take it? No, I'm unworthy of such a thing. Sayo, this isn't a request. It's an no! It's an order. That's no. Why would you? No, get your fucking face off screen. Hold on. No, that's worse. I fear the original image was worse. It's
Wait,
an
I didn't
order.
see the
Take this ring, okay? If it's an order, I cannot disobey. Yeah, that's right. Well done. Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. The ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object meant since ancient time to be offered to a special woman under special circumstances. Therefore, while George couldn't order her to take it, he could order her to take it. He could not order anything beyond that. I'm glad they cleared that up because, oh my god, anything beyond that would depend not on order but on Seo's own will. So from here on, I'm not ordering you anymore. Seo, I want you to give me your answer by tomorrow without using words. What the fuck does that mean? Do you understand? How should I?
That was real.
I won't order you any further, so this isn't an order. But a ring is something you put on your finger after all. If you like it, you can just put it on any finger you choose. Shannon only pretended not to know. She already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life. But look how late it is. I'm dropping the accent. I can't. Let's call it a day. George turned away from Shannon, acting a bit bluntly. I could probably order you to wear it on your left hand. You might be a bit timid and dependent enough not to actually obey that kind of order. But I want at least this last step to be done by your own will, Sayo. Understand? Yes. So, that's my order. I want you to think about it, tonight and show me your answer tomorrow. Shannon nodded back. Why can't she just be sitting, playing cards with Battler, joking about her tits, please? I would rather that. That would be less painful. This would be cute. If Shannon was 18! Or over! Preferably over! If she's a minor, this is just weird. Today was the culmination of the many days spent together. This moment certainly hadn't come to a surprise to Shannon. We should be getting back to the guest house soon. If we take any longer, we'll make everyone worry about us. Oh, I'm sorry. I just remembered something that I had to do in the mansion. I had to go back to the mansion. At a time like this, is that true? George stared at Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. What the fuck? What the fuck? Sorry, I just got what's it called? Bruh. Okay. Bruh. He definitely saw through Shannon's lie. However, when he saw how she felt, he sort of understand that she might be so embarrassed that she wanted to be alone. So because George realized the meaning behind Shannon's lie, he accepted it. My phone! Rain! Am I supposed to click next? Oh, there's the crack.
Crack!
Is it now midnight? No, it's an hour later. It's 11. Let me just... System. Save. Don't want to see this man's face. Anyway, exit. Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with tottering gait. A mixture of elation and uncertainty gave a feeling that she couldn't easily describe. It swelled up in her chest until it felt like she was about to burst. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Gorda, who had been ordering to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in a worn-out crossword puzzle game. He looked up for an instant to see if one of the family had come, but when he realized there was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened. Genji-sama told me to come and help you. Oh, is that so? I'm gonna give this guy a fucking muffled voice. That's a relief. I was just about to go and check that the mansion was fully locked up, but I felt uneasy about leaving this room unmanned. After all, Kraus-sama and the others meeting looks as if it will continue for quite some time. They might request some tea at any moment. That's true. Then what shall we do? Shall I watch over? In that case, forgive me, Shannon-chan, but I'll ask that you patrol the mansion. I will stay here awaiting the family's orders. What a cow. Yes. Shannon was slightly disgusted, as she should be. Even though she'd come here to help out as a favour, she was casually being forced to do the job of the person actually on duty. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Gorda returned to his magazine once again and became immersed in his crossword puzzle. Shannon bowed her head as a token of respect for her elder, then left the room to patrol the mansion. Thanks to her being a bit ticked off, she managed to suppress that floaty feeling she'd been having just until now. And anyways, she couldn't just let Genji or Kanon see her looking like this. She wanted a little more time to herself until her heart calmed down, so maybe going patrol wouldn't be so bad. If she gets attacked by Kraus, I'm gonna get him. She began to hear tumultuous voices of the family discussion coming in from the dining hall. Someone was speaking at great length, only to be interrupted by someone else. The second person also began to speak in a very long, drawn-out fashion, until yet another person interrupted. That kept on repeating. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. That is typically how your displeasure seeps out, yes. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if Kraus discovered her. Thinking this, Shannon had dashed past the dining hall. Then she went along pretending... Let me see... Thinking this, Shannon dashed past the dining hall. Then she went along a pre-arranged route through the dark mansion, checking all that the locks were secure. She walked down the hall, checking each window. There was no humans on Rokkanjima other than those connected to the family, so locking up didn't really serve much purpose. No one had been in the habit of locking up at the Shirimiya head family, but at least not until Natsuhi had scolded them for being careless. Metal fixtures on the window were ice cold as she checked them one by one. The glow in her heart seemed to cool down. Ooh, what? Gold butterflies?
Where?
At that time, she thought she saw something twinkling across the hall. Twinkling? How could anything be twinkling through the darkness of the hall? Is this in the prophecy? Lovers die. One of the lovers dies. Is Shannon about to die? And if so, why not George?
Bit ahead in the epitaph, just quickly.
Oh, okay. She figured she must have been imagining it, but she still held her breath. Grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed down the hall. However, other than that occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. She must have been her imagination after all. Maybe her heart was so agitated that she'd seen something that didn't even exist. Shannon went back to checking the windows. However, a certain unnerving memory resurrected in the back of her mind. It was that ghost story, which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Ashurmia head family. The mansion had two different masters, one of the day and one of the night. Beatrice, the master of the night, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. That was the story. Come to think of it, didn't Kanokun say he once he'd seen it with his own eyes? Though he got sulky when I said he must have imagined it and refused to believe him. Could it possibly be true? The roar of thunder gave no answer.
Sound.
Back in the guest house, I assume? No, definitely not.
Beatrice.
Beatrice? Oh, it's now midnight. Dong. 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 Crack?
Crack?
No. Oh, fuck off! I thought I escaped him! Oh, maybe I did. That cut off as she disappeared. Oh.
Woo
Woo woo. Ooh! All the pieces are in place. What will you see of the chessboard? I just got a thing.
Oh, I didn't say that. Umineko no Nakukoroni.
What's going on? Well, it's midnight.
Umineko no Nakukoroni.
It's now 6 a.m. The second day, October 5th, 1986. Genji tightened his bow tie and looked outside through the crack in the curtains. I'm going to save. System. Save. Maybe the rain had died down a tiny bit since the previous night, but the thick rain clouds didn't seem like they'd be letting any trace of the morning sun get by. The morning was dim and far from refreshing. It seems it will last all day. Oh, it seems it will last all day after all. Sorry to keep you waiting, Genji-sama. Konon finished checking his appearance and exited the washroom. On their normal schedule, it was rare for anyone to suffer going straight from a midnight shift to an early morning shift. They're on a special schedule for 2 days for the family conference. However, unless the typhoon passed today, the relative stay on the island would last until tomorrow. Kana thought it would be best prepared for the special schedule to last an extra day. Flashbang! The two of them left the guest house, opening the umbrellas. The rose garden had been devastated by the wind and rain on the previous night. Even though they'd spent several days making it beautiful to welcome the guests, one stormy night was enough to ruin it. Kanon sighed. The two headed for the mansion. They were supposed to meet up with Gorda and prepare breakfast. If they find a dead body, I will scream. Gorda was a perfectionist, and he'd probably already woken up and was probably already preparing breakfast as exquisite and elegant glasswork. They reached the overhang to the entrance of the mansion and folded up their umbrellas. Genji took a bundle of several keys from his pocket and unlocked the front door. The Ashiramiya family mansion was the only thing on Rokkanjima, so in the past it hadn't been in the habit of locking up. However, Natsuhi had ordered the mansion be locked up from midnight to early morning. Ever since then, unlocking the door in the early morning had become part of the servants' morning shift. This task had been given to Genji and Kanon so that Gorda could start preparing breakfast as soon as he woke up. Silence had fallen in the mansion, giving the impression that the mansion itself was still asleep. Well then, let us begin the morning chores. Yes, sir. Two of them had split up and began opening the curtains throughout the mansion. The curtains stayed closed, the mansion would remain enveloped in faint darkness as though it was still trapped in the previous night. Following the well-rehearsed procedure, Kanon went around the mansion, opening the few curtains for one window after the other without having to retrace his steps once. Even with this horrible weather, drawing curtains made it feel just a little bit like morning. While doing that, he passed in front of the kitchen. Even though he hadn't smelled anything yet, his stomach started aching for some of Gorda's prize cooking. Good morning. Huh? He tried to greet Gorda, who should have been getting breakfast ready, but Gorda was nowhere to be seen. Please tell me Gorda's dead. Let him be the first to die, please! Please!
Wait, who are you hoping has died?
Gorda!
Anyone else?
George. No, I don't know. Maybe Rudolph, so I don't have to do his voice again. But
I don't his voice.
You don't have to say his voice. The kitchen was dark.
It's iconic.
But it also damages my throat. The kitchen was darkly lit, and it was not only the curtains not open, but the fan wasn't even running. It was still cold without any trace of fire being lit, so of course there were no signs of breakfast being made either. Maybe Kraus. Kraus being dead would also make my life so much better. All the male characters, all gone. It would have been inexcusable. Perhaps Gerda had overslept. Even servants are only human. They sometimes sleep and show up late. In the rare cases that such a thing happens, it's only part of the servants' code to hide this unsightly scene before anyone notices, smoothly cover it up, and make sure the family never realizes that anything has gone wrong. Kanon took the receiver of the phone that had been fitted to the wall and dialed the number for the extension line in the servants' sleeping room. He couldn't hear that characteristic sound of a dial tone. Kanon had tried picking up the receiver again, but even so, he couldn't hear the usual dial tone. He tried dialing again, but it had no apparent effect. Could the lightning last night have damaged some of the machining, breaking the extension line? The equipment in this mansion was all worn out. Kanon fully understood that even the smallest thing could have caused it to break down. He gave up trying to wake Gorda with the phone and dashed over to the servants' sleeping room. Be dead, be dead, be dead, be dead, be dead, be dead. How long has it been since I stopped sleeping and started lazily staring at the ceiling? That vague sense of awakening was part of Natsuhi's usual morning experience. Oh, we're going to Natsuhi's perspective now. But I want to see if Goda's dead. He's an asshole. Of course I do. She always slept lightly, and she couldn't sleep at all without medicine. To Natsuhi, sleep was definitely not a happy thing. When she looked outside, she saw it was still pouring. If she hadn't sensed a tiny amount of light, she might have mistakenly thought it was still the previous night. She herself was one of the hosts, so she mustn't wake up later than her guests. Urging herself on, she raised her body, which still hadn't completely recovered from yesterday's weariness. No one would torment her as long as she remained inside this room, and her headache wouldn't get any worse here. This room was the only place she could find peace. So when she left it, it meant returning to the world where her husband's siblings kept trying to stab each other in the back. In that case, wouldn't it be better just to stay locked up in this room forever? That ridiculous notion brought a bitter smile to Natsuhi's face. She was starting to sound like Kinzo, though she often complained about Kinzo staying locked up in his own room and refusing to attend everyone else. The truth was that she longed to do the same. Natsuhi gave her head a small shake, and the fantasy was replaced by a reawakening of her usual headache. Is this okay if she's constantly got a headache? When she reached for the doorknob, trying to leave the room, her hand touched the scorpion charm that had hung from it the night before going to sleep the previous night. It was Maria's charm, which Natsuhi had received from Jessica. Didn't Jessica say something about it having the power to repel magic, telling her to hang up from her doorknob? Maybe it was thanks to this charm that at least this room had been protected from the malice of her husband's siblings. As she thought, her mood began to get a little more cheerful. I wonder if I have Jessica to thank for the little bit of peaceful sleep I managed to receive. Then Natsuhi remembered. That's right. Last night I promised Jessica that I'd give her a charm from my own in exchange for this one, didn't I? Natsuhi opened a drawer on her dresser and took out an antique accessory case that she had treasured when she was a child. Inside, there were many small objects that Natsuhi had thought were valuable at the time. Amidst those, she pulled out a red pouch. Inside was a small round mirror about 10 centimeters across. It looked quite old, but the design on the back of the mirror was very ornate, and it felt like something with historical value. At the very least, it seemed much more authentic than any other charm, which looked like a plastic scorpion keychain. When she heard that this was a spiritual mirror for warding off evil spirits, she had been given it specially by her grandmother when her grandfather's mementos had been distributed. It had been believed since long ago that a strange power resided in this mirror. Perhaps people thought it could reflect calamity and malice in the same way it reflected light. Natsuhi returned the mirror to its pouch. It would probably be a fitting object to hand over to Jessica. As she was placing it in her pocket, the sound of someone knocking at the door suddenly echoed throughout the room. Yes? Good morning, madam. It is Genji. My apologies for waking you so early. I'm coming now. What is it? No servant had ever come up to wake her this early in the morning, nor had they come to wake her in person. Perhaps something bad had happened. Maybe a fatal oversight had been made while preparing breakfast, something that would shame the household in front of the guests. Natsuhi took a deep breath in anticipation for whatever troubles she was about to hear of. When she opened the door, Genji once again gave a morning greeting while bowing deeply. Natsuhi tentatively responded. Good morning. Did something happen? My apologies. It would seem that the telephones have broken down due to the lightning last night. The extension phone isn't working, so please forgive my coming to see you directly. The extension telephone isn't working? That would be troublesome. Will it be possible to fix it? I'm afraid we don't know the location of the damage. Later on, I will call in an expert and have him repair it. Does it mean we'll be unable to have it repaired until the typhoon passes? Then it will remain broken down for the duration of our guest stay? Will that hamper our efforts to care for our guests? We will do whatever we can to ensure there are no problems. Very well. I am counting on you to make sure there are So we have no blunders. Natsu let out a small sigh of relief. She had been prepared for the worst. But damage to the telephone wasn't that kind of trouble she was worried about. Then again, even this would probably be enough to spark sarcasm from Eva. Natsuhi gave her head a light shake. Are the preparations for breakfast proceeding well? As to that, we haven't been able to find Golda because he's dead! The arrangements for breakfast have yet to be carried out. What did you say? Natsuhi was indignant. To her, this was a much bigger problem than the phones not working. And despite that, this piece of information was the part that had been postponed. Why did everything go well most of the time and then come to something like this when the relatives were visiting? Natsuhi put her hand to her forehead and shook her head. Well, I suppose you slept in? At any rate, just see to it that someone hurries up and prepares breakfast. I don't care who. What? Natsuhi exited into the hall and turned around for a second to close the door to her room. The creepy thing she saw there silenced her completely. Oh dear. It was an unpleasant sight, as though someone had dipped their fingers in a reddish-black liquid and scratched at the door around the knob. It was probably some sort of awful prank. Did Jessica just save her mother with that charm? Arranged by some person who had wanted to make it look as though they tried to force the door with bloody hands. What? What sort of prank is this? How awful. I also just noticed it as I came to call you. I will clean it later. Perhaps this is a vulgar joke by one of the guests? Disgusting. Truly disgusting! Truly disgusting! I can't. Oh no. I make myself laugh sometimes. Who in the world would try and pull such a childish prank? Natsuhi had a pretty good idea. Me, are you still there?
I'm still here, hi!
Cause you what's it called? You've been silent for a while. I haven't heard any comments.
Oh, I'm just thinking about what I'm gonna make for food, because I'm gonna make myself a late lunch.
I see.
I might just up to my iPad and go on mute.
Yep.
Just bring you down with me.
Natsuhi had a pretty good idea, but of course there was no proof. So even if she pushed the issue, it would just seem as though she was making a fuss about nothing. In fact, it would surely be better to act as though she had never realized such a prank had been played on her. Natsuhi gave the order to have it cleaned and headed off into the parlor with Squeak in her heels. When Natsuhi and Genji arrived at the parlor, Eva and Hideyoshi were already there. Good morning, everyone. Morning, Natsuhi. I heard Goda-san will be making us breakfast too. My stomach's been getting all excited since I woke up, haha. After all, it seems the food that you can look forward to at the head family household. I'm pleased that you two are in high spirits so early in the morning, Eva-san. With a wary expression, Natsuhi returned Eva's gaze, which was fiercely competitive despite the early hour. Kanon jogged in. After bowing an apology for the relatives for running inside the mansion, he noticed Genji and told him something in a small voice. Kanon? Have you still not found Goda? My apologies, madam. I went all over the inside of the mansion and the guest house, but I still haven't found him. What in the world has he gone? At any rate, breakfast is a higher priority than fighting Goda right now. See to it immediately. Yes. Kanon glanced at Genji. It seems that he had something else to report, but was uncertain whether or not the words should come from him. Genji nodded and decided to give the report himself. Madam, it is not only Goda. Yes! Your husband is also nowhere to be found! Yes! Yes, my least favorite people are gone and dead! They have died! Thank fuck! wetting my lips with some chapstick as I continue. My husband? Yes. Even before visiting you, I went to his room to tell him that they're not in the same room? Bro. Tell him that breakfast wasn't being prepared, but I did not find him there. Furthermore, he is not the only one missing. Rudolph Summer! I don't have to voice Rudolph. His wife and Rosa Summer are nowhere to be found. Not in the guest house? Not in the mansion? Yes. They were not in their rooms in the guest house either. I'm living. When she heard that Gotta alone was missing, she'd assumed that he'd slept in or was loafing around somewhere. However, now that she'd learned several of the relatives were now also nowhere to be seen, she began to take a slightly more optimistic view. Could last night's family conference have continued all night up until the present moment? If so, they might have wanted to cool their heads after being shut in a stuffy room. Does that happen to mean that Seo is also missing? Cool their heads after being shut in a stuffy room, going out for walks on their own throughout the rain. The part of cooling their heads really sounded like something Kraus would say. Gotta had probably been summoned to accompany them and aid them in some way. Gotta was not a man who lost track of time. He had to understand that preparations for breakfast would be hindered if he did not return. However, maybe the family conference had continued until this very moment, with an atmosphere that would make it hard for anyone to slip out. Yes, that theory would be quite convincing for Natsuhi. She then remembered the illusion she'd felt that morning, as if though the previous night had never ended. When she learned that feeling wasn't an illusion, she once again took a deep, weary breath. After all, that banquet of filthy vultures circling Kinzel's property was still going on. Perhaps they are still discussing the inheritance somewhere in the garden, or maybe the beach. Then why is Eva and Hideyoshi here? At any rate, if we don't call Goda back, we'll never be able to begin the preparations for breakfast. So what are you saying? Are Nissan and the rest still continuing their discussion? She had planned to say it in a small voice, but Hideyoshi overheard Natsuhi and managed to grasp the situation. Nissan and Rudolph sure are tough. Maybe it's just youth in your Rose's case. Just a bit after midnight, the two of us were so tired that we headed back to our bed. Though I do remember that Nissan and the rest were still having a heated discussion at that point. Men certainly are unpleasant when they get all fired up. Natsuhi snorted, her face still blank. Kanon, search outside. If you find Goda, tell him to return immediately and begin preparing breakfast. Certainly. Natsuhi-san, we don't know for sure that they're outside, do we? Couldn't they also be inside Father's study? I see that's certainly possible. I don't know what path their conversation took, but there's certainly a chance they'll move to Father's study and let him in on their discussion. I can't imagine their father would willingly let them bring such a detestable topic into his study. You really think so? Well, there's nothing we can do. I'm sorry, Genji-san and Kanon-kun, but could you search outside? It wouldn't be that strange for Nissan to suggest they go outside for a walk to cool their heads, even in this weather. I'll go to Father's study. Who knows, they might actually be there after all. Eva-san, I couldn't ask to guess at you to exert yourself, so I will go. I could also wish him a good morning when I'm at it. Oh, then I'll leave it in your hands, although I somehow doubt he'll return your greeting. Natsuhi-san, you've always been on such good terms. Have you always been on such good terms with Father? I don't know whether you could call it that, but I am sure that I have gained his trust as the wife of the successor to the Oshiramiya family. Then I'm sure he'll at least answer you, right? I'd like to at least have breakfast with Father. Do you think you could convince him to come down and join us? It seems that he thoroughly despises the rest of us, but I'm sure he'll listen to you if he trusts you that much. After speaking so boldly, if you're unable to convince Father to come down alone, then I doubt you'll be able to claim you've earned his trust again. I am not confident, but I will try. Natsuhi responded, looking discouraged. However, knowing Kinzo's temperament, she had absolutely no confidence in her ability to bring him out. Eva was clearly mocking her, confident that Natsuhi wouldn't be able to get Kinzo to come down. But even so, Natsuhi would lose face if she gave up, saying it was impossible letting Eva go instead. Eva's mean-spirited and unreasonable demands made Natsuhi clench her fist slightly. When Genji realized this, he softly spoke over her shoulder. Madam, please take this if you would. And this is... Genji handed Natsuhi a sparkling gold key. Genji handed Natsuhi a sparkling gold key of ornate design. It was the key to Kinzo's study. The study had an auto lock that couldn't be unlocked as long as Kinzo forbade entrance. However, since Genji was especially trusted by Kinzo, he was allowed to carry the key to that door. But if this key is used, won't you also receive... But if this key is used, won't you also receive the blame? When the master is sleeping deeply, simply knocking on the door will not suffice. And it would be more difficult to persuade the master to leave his room if you must talk through the door. Please use this. Genji. Until now, Natsuhi had only thought of Genji as a cold servant who wouldn't do anything for her since he worked directly under Kinzo. But it looks like she would have to alter her understanding of him. She wanted to communicate her gratitude, but by then Genji had already turned his back on her and was walking down the corridor with Kanon. But as Natsuhi watched them go, the words directed from behind her were sneering. Well then, you must bring father with you, okay? After all, his son's precious wife who's asking, I'm sure he'll listen to you. We're guests, so we'll just relax here at our leisure. Quit it, Eva. You're taking this too far. Sorry, Natsuhi-san, but we're counting on you to deal with father. Without answering, Natsuhi forcefully spun around on her heels and quickly left that place. I like the story being from Natsuhi's perspective. I like doing her voice. Saying that, I no longer get her perspective. I was actually looking forward to more Natsuhi perspective. After all that excitement the previous night, there was no way anyone was going to wake up early. George, Anarchy, and Jessica and I were snoring loudly on the beds in the cousin room. But Maria, who had gone straight to bed without joining in, was completely awake. She rubbed her eyes sleepily and looked around. She was met with the loud snores of the other three cousins. For a while, Maria had to think about what happened. After all, she realized that her mother wasn't with her, so she quickly got lonely. Maria left the cousin room, trying to head to the other room that had been arranged for her and her mother. Paying no heed to the three who were sleeping soundly, she slammed the door shut. In response, Battler mumbled and rolled over in his sleep, but it wasn't enough to wake him. After a while, Maria returned once again, opening the door with a lively bang. Iwi? When she had left the room, her face had been sleepy, but now she was back, it looked irritated. After that, she climbed up on Battler's bed, which happened to be the closest, and started yelling and jumping on him like it was a trampoline. Iwu, iwu! Wake up! Iwu, iwu! Whoa, what? Is it an enemy raid? Surround them! After making sure I was awake, Maria moved to George Aniki's bed and started jumping on that as well. In that manner, the three of us were all greeted with an extremely pleasant awakening. Thanks for waking us up, Maria-chan. You stopped us from sleeping in after that late night. If only you could have been a bit more gentle about it. George Nissan, you are already an adult. I respect that. Yo, you really are an adult. I respect that. So it'll be 7 soon. It's really not a bad time to wake up. Ibu? Mama's not here. Ibu? Aunt Rosa? Wasn't she in her room? I wonder if she's already woken up and gone to the mansion. Not here! Ooh! Ooh! Mama! Ooh! Maria kept groaning, oohing, and looking unhappy. She didn't exactly seem lonely because her mother wasn't around. It was more like she was irritated and thrown off balance because her mother wasn't where she'd expected. If we could just tell her where her mother was, that alone probably would have calmed her down. But unfortunately, we had no way of knowing where Aunt Rosa was except where she wasn't here. Anyway, it's time for breakfast. Let's head over to the mansion. That's right, Maria, let's go to the mansion together, okay? I'm sure Aunt Rosa will be there too. Uwu? Mama's in the mansion? Then I'll go there. Uwu? Yeah, I guess we should all go to the mansion. Our parents probably have already gone there. Maria regains her usual composure so completely, her earlier tantrum now seemed like a lie. We got dressed, left the room, and headed for the mansion. Rain. Once more, there was a knocking sound on the study door, but there was no answer. He seems to be sleeping still, and I could not wake him. If she went back downstairs and said something like that, Ava would probably be amused and triumphant. Even putting Ava aside, it was problematic that Kinzel had stayed shut away during the entire once-a-year conference, not even coming down to greet anyone. Even the family head, no, especially the family head, couldn't fail to make an appearance. I wonder if I could convince him myself. Nutty readied herself and used the key. I need to blow my nose again. I wonder if I can convince him myself. Nutty readied herself and used the key that she'd borrowed from Genji to open the door. Let me guess. Kinzel's not in there. Even though she was prepared for the sweet stench which seemed to eat into one's brain as it poured out the small crack in the door, she couldn't help but grimace. Thinking that he might still be sleeping, Natsuhi entered the room quietly. Oh, no, he's there. When she did, Kinzel was already awake and looking down out of the window. So you're awake? Good morning. How did you get in? Kinzel spoke with the back still facing her. His voice was not harsh, but calm. Natsuhi was slightly reassured. However, though he was awake, he wouldn't have ignored all that knocking if he was in a good mood. Natsuhi wasn't able to relax. My sincere apologies. I asked Genji-san and he allowed me to borrow the key to his study. Oh, Genji did? If my friend thought that was important, then I have no choice but to listen. So, what business do you have with me? Well, breakfast will be ready soon, and I would greatly appreciate it if you join us. I will eat here. Have it brought here like always. But father, this family conference only happens once a year. Please at least let them see your face. Go back downstairs. Are you asking me to join in as they discuss how to chew up my inheritance after I die? How foolish. Let them speak of such matters as much as they please without me. And if that's what you call a family conference, it's hardly worth leaving my room for it. I am busy. Do not bother me. His last words carried the threat that any further question would not be appreciated. Natsuhi realized that adding any further pleas would finally bring his wrath down upon her. She didn't look forward to facing Eva's sarcasm, but there was nothing more Natsuhi could do. Is that so? Understood. I'm sure everyone would be sorry to hear it, but I will tell them. Natsuhi decided to give up, bowing silently as she tried to leave the room before Kinzel's spasmodic temper could flare up. Spasmodic, that is an interesting word. As she did, Kinzel spoke to her. His voice was calm and gentle. It felt like it came from an entirely different person. Natsuhi, it's been quite some time since you married into the Shirmiya family. Yes. It has been many years since I first permitted to bear the name Shirmiya. Do you sometimes long for your previous family? No? Marriage means abandoning your birth family. I am Ushiramiya Natsuhi. The Ushiramiya family is the only family I can come home to. The only one I am fond of. She truly wasn't exaggerating. Such was the resolve she felt when she applied the Ushiramiya family name to herself. And that's precisely why she was so saddened when her husband didn't treat her like an Ushiramiya, leaving her to race about in vain. If Kraus were a woman, and you, his husband... No, I won't say that. What do you mean by that, father? Natsuhi was shocked. If Kinzo's words just now were what they seemed, it would have been more than enough to make up for all she had suffered up to that point. Forget it. It's just nonsense of an old man. Kinzo once again faced away from her. He told her to forget it, but Natsuhi couldn't help feeling a warmth in her heart. Father, even though I, Natsuhi, am not connected to your blood, I am still your daughter. I will most assuredly see to it that your honor and glory and everything you have left behind are protected. You do not have the right to wear the one-winged eagle. However, the one-winged eagle is surely engraved in your heart. That is irrefutable proof that you are my blood relative. One who will inherit the glory of the Ushiramiya family. Some will sneer that there is no eagle on your clothes, but such words are not worth lending an ear to. Only those who hold the eagle in their hearts are my true blood relatives. I will now consider it an honor that you are welcomed into the Ushiramiya family. Without saying anything more, Kinzo remained with his back to Natsuhi. However, Natsuhi couldn't help but feel something warm well up inside her that she hadn't felt since long ago, when she had just been a child. Natsuhi bowed silently to the back of his head and left the room. Ah, good timing. How is father? You were talking for so long, so I came to check. When Natsuhi left the study, she saw Eva climbing the stairs and their eyes met. Eva was smirking unpleasantly, thinking that Natsuhi would leave grudgingly after failing to convince Kinzo. However, the way Natsuhi was now, such a frivolous laugh would not disturb her. She was not permitted to wear the family crest on her clothing, but she was permitted to wear it in her heart. So she spoke calmly, clearly, and confidently, with the dignity of the one who would protect the Ushiramiya family's glory. Father said he will not join in on the family conference. He said he has no interest in discussing such obscene matters. I'd figure you'd say something like that. If you fail to persuade father, just say so. How pitiful. I'm beginning to see why father lamented so. What do you mean by that? Natsuhi did not answer. Just as Kinzo had done earlier, she showed Eva her back as she headed down the stairs. Eva finally realized that she was being made fun of, that something had happened to quickly bolster Natsuhi's confidence. Even so, she appeared she didn't have the courage to risk Kinzo's wrath. Unable to even knock on the door, she could only click her tongue, make a motion as though scratching at it, and follow after Natsuhi. So were Nissan and the rest there? Did you ask father about them? I didn't get a chance to ask, but they were not inside the study. Father would never let them into his room to discuss such a lowly topic, so it is unlikely he knows where they went. Let us go downstairs and wait for the servants to return from their search. Breakfast may be late, but how would you like some tea, Eva-san? That would be fine. Eva couldn't hide her confusion at the complete difference in Natsuhi's attitude. She was acting so boldly, and while Eva hated to admit it, she'd even had a sense of dignity about her. Unable to find the faults with anything, Eva could only follow Natsuhi's back to the parlor. When the two of them returned to the parlour, Hideyoshi had been joined by the 4 children and Nanjo. Genji, who had been talking with Hideyoshi, reported the current situation when he noticed that Natsuhi had returned. You still have not found my husband and the rest? Yes, my apologies. Also, Kumasawa-san has started preparing breakfast. She says that she would need a little longer. The clock read a little past 8. Damn, that was a very quick, 2 hours. 8 should have been the time to start breakfast. Normally, going over that time limit would be a disgrace to the host. Kanon is now searching outside. Also, no one has seen Shannon either. Aww! Even Shannon's missing? Truly, just how many people did my husband bring with him on his little walk? Just how many people had gone missing by now? Now that the number of people was this large, it was starting to feel truly unpleasant, as though the people here were the only ones being left out of something interesting. At least that seemed to reflect the feelings of the children and Maria in particular. She was indignant, her stomach grumbling, almost as though her mother and the others had left her alone to go off and eat something delicious without her. The other children were flipping through the channels on the television, trying to find a program that might interest Maria to tear her up again. Nanjo was just sitting on the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. Actually, hold on.
Mia has dumplings now.
Slay. I'm going to save, but I'm... Exit. Let me see how many members. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 18, so there's 12 left. Is it 6? Hold on, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yes, 6 of them.
Do you remember how many are sacrificed in the first part of the epitaph?
Oh, I see. So Rudolph really is dead. I don't have to do his voice for a while. Thank fucking Christ. Okay. Well then who are the... Oh, I guess maybe Eva and Hideyoshi might be the lovers if, one of the lovers I was thinking of is gone. But I think those are the only ones who would be the lovers. Unless, you get Kumasawa and, and Battler, the boob fondler and the uncomfy old lady. Nanjo was sitting on the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. It must have been a book about chess. The sound of footsteps came rushing towards them with a pitter-patter. There was only one set, so they soon realised before seeing who it belonged to that it was probably Kanon, not Kraus and the rest. Madame, excuse me. Judging by appearance, you still haven't been able to find them. My apologies, I still haven't. That will be enough? You've worked hard. She didn't know where they were, but they had to be somewhere on this island. They hadn't had a thing to eat since the previous night, so their stomachs had been growling about now. They'd probably come plodding back at their own accord before long. By now, Natsuhi was thoroughly exacerbated and started to feel that there was no reason for them to go out of their way and search. I will go to the kitchen. Oh no. I will go to the kitchen and prepare some tea for the guests. Thanks to both of you for all of your hard work so early in the morning. Natsuhi left the parlour acting as though the release and the tension had caused a new surge in her headache. Kanon tried to call her back, but Natsuhi left swiftly. What is it? Is there something else? Yes, I was unable to find her husband or anyone else, but, well... Kanon sounded evasive. It looked as though he didn't know where they were, but had spotted something that might be connected to their disappearance. Eva and Hideyoshi noticed this exchange of words and came over. They probably picked up on something strange in Kanon's behaviour. What's going on, Kanon? Good? Did you find Kraus, Nissan and everyone else? Actually, the Rose Garden storehouse looked strange. What do you mean, it looked strange? It was, how should I explain it? Kanon hesitated once more. His tone wasn't at all what you'd expect from this usual fearless boy. Seeing this, Eva and Hideyoshi looked at each other dubiously. What do you mean? Are you saying Nissan and the others were inside the storehouse? No, I'm going to expect inside now. I just now came back to get the key, but, I don't usually get it, but it sounds like we've just got another... I don't usually really get it. I don't usually... Why am I saying usually? I don't really get it, but it sounds like we've just got to look around inside it. Where's the key to that storehouse? It is in the servant room. Let us check inside the storehouse once.
Nancy, come here!
Dogs.
Oh my
Kanon
goodness.
dashed off to the servant room and returned with the key. Genji left the parlor saying that he would go check, but Eva and Hideyoshi followed after him. What was this something strange about the storehouse that had caused the usually fearless Kanon to hesitate? It was still pouring outside, but perhaps the curiosity over this something that Kanon couldn't talk about won out. While the children made a big fuss watching television, Kanon and the rest dashed over to the entrance. The Rose Garden storehouse was a place that housed various tools used to manage the garden. It was definitely not a pretty building. Because of its appearance, it had been built so that it was hidden in the corner of the Rose Garden. Kanon, Genji, Eva, and Hideyoshi came cutting across the Rose Garden holding umbrellas. They entered a small path just off the Rose Garden, which normally was off limits to those appreciating the garden and only used by those maintaining it. As they dashed down, the storehouse came into the view in front of them. I just realized the 6 who are missing...
Yeah?
Hold on.
The ones that you're doing the voices of the most?
Yeah, so it was Rosa, Goda, Rudolph, and Kiri, and Kraus. And Shannon. Shannon had told Kanon she doesn't really believe, or not that she doesn't believe in Beatrice, but that maybe Kanon was seeing things. Goda is an asshole. Rosa didn't believe, fully didn't believe Maria when she said she met Beatrice. Rudolph couldn't really believe it. Kiri always follows Rudolph, and Kraus definitely didn't believe it. Eva and Hideyoshi are sort of like in the middle. I don't really know what their thoughts are of, but most of these people don't really believe in Beatrice. I think Kiri is like a what's it called? Obviously, all of these people were not in their rooms, unlike literally everyone else. But what's it called? Most of these people also like don't believe in Beatrice. It was quite an old shed. No, Kiri was saying that Beatrice is an 18th person. So Kiri doesn't believe that Beatrice really exists. She thinks that Beatrice is a like front. So Kiri doesn't really believe in Beatrice either. It was quite an old shed, and compared to the flawless perfect beauty of the Rose Garden, it was pretty seedy looking. It was easy to understand why it had been built in a hard to see place. Eva and Hideyoshi arrived to the storehouse long after Kanon and Genji. Ha, ha. You two sure are fast. I thought my heart was gonna explode. I never knew they had a storehouse way over here. But, what is that? Eva looked where Kanon was pointing, and she was at a loss for words. Noticing this, Hideyoshi followed Kanon's finger and was likewise too shocked to speak. The entrance to the storehouse was a kind of shutter, and there, everyone realized why Kanon had suddenly been unable to find the words to describe what they now saw. The shutter, which was completely filthy from being exposed to the wind and rain for so long, stuck right on it. Oh! Was something that looked like a strange dark red liquid. Mucus? Or maybe it was some kind of sticky paint? It was an indescribably eerie shape that was drawn on the shutter in some kind of ghastly substance. The rain had caused it to drip down like fresh blood leaking from an open wound. Nothing more beating around the bush. No more beating around the bush. Some kind of mark was drawn there, with a ghastly substance that looked like blood, in a shape that seems to suggest something ominous. 2 circles were drawn there. Inside them was a design that looked like a cross. 4 ends of the cross were widely exaggerated and looked like some kind of crest from somewhere around Europe. The cracks between these shapes, written closely together, were some familiar characters or possibly symbols. What a vulgar big of graffiti. Could this be one of those magic circles used in demonic ceremonies? It wasn't surprising that Hideyoshi would say that about such a ghastly shape drawn in a deep red dripping substance. When was this made? There was nothing drawn here when I came by yesterday before it started raining. We must do something about this before anyone else sees this. If their eyes laid upon it, it would cause them great discomfort. That's right. Even though it's just a shed, I wouldn't want to leave such an unpleasant piece of graffiti alone for them for even a second longer than I had to. There was some paint inside the storehouse. There is some paint inside the storehouse, painted over temporarily as an emergency measure, then repainted again someday when the weather is good. Genji remembered that he had just recently seen another scribble, and that too had been made with a strange dark red substance of the same colour as this. That must have been... That's right, he had seen it on the door to Natsuhi's room. Kanon-kun? Let's remove this scribble quickly and go back, okay? Even though it's just a storehouse, it's really irritating to have graffiti around the home I was brought up in. Yes, ma'am. I will take care of it immediately. Kanon squatted in front of the shutter and unlocked it. He then lifted it up with all of his strength. A boisterous noise resounded, and an eerie shape drawn in the shutter began to get sucked through the top of the shutter was raised. At least from the time being, that ominous drawing disappeared from their gaze, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. Damn, I thought all their bodies would be in the shed. Okay, I will be back in a second.
The dog is here.
I am now recording again. What's it called? Have made myself a little container of vegetables to snack on.
Alright.
And I've made myself tea for my voice. Sup, Alex?
Not hero.
Oh, she just said sup, Alex. Oh, I'll give you my headphones. Alright. Alright. Yeah, you keep slapping your shoulder with that knife. Keep doing that.
Interesting conversations I'm hearing. Anyway, continuing on.
That's great.
Yeah, you're worried. You said me well, some bread.
May I continue?
Yep.
So, I accidentally slammed down my tea onto my mouse, so we have to sort of go back a bit. Thanks to a kids program they came across, Maria was feeling much better. Bartler and Jessica were poking fun at the kids show at every turn, cackling together. Jordan was enjoying the program with Maria from her perspective. Nanjo sat on the sofa by himself, passing the time by reading quietly. They heard hurried footsteps coming from the hallway. They were the footsteps of a single person. Did that mean that it wasn't the group of 4? Does that mean it wasn't the group of 4 that had just left? It was Genji. Very rare for Genji who
Bestie, where did you go?
Hannah came and talked to me for a second. Anyway. It was very rare for Genji, who considered being out of breath a violation of a servant's virtues, to be gasping for air. He probably came back dashing from outside the mansion. His shoulders were soaking wet, and he didn't have his usual trim appearance. When Genji noticed Nanjo looking at him, he gave a small, silent bow, quickly approached him. Dr. Nanjo, my apologies. Please come with me quickly. What? What is the matter? Oh, what? What is the matter? As Genji whispered something in Nanjo's ear, Nanjo went pale. He rose from the sofa, trying not to be noticed by the children who were still engrossed by the TV. And the two of them rapidly left the parlour, muffling their footsteps. Just as they were about to exit the parlour, they came across Natsuhi, who was pushing a serving cart loaded with a tea set. Genji whispered something into Natsuhi's ear, and Natsuhi went pale too, in apparent shock. Then, leaving the serving cart where it was, the three of them dashed towards the entrance. George noticed them running down the rose garden through the window. What's that? Isn't that Genji-san and Dr. Nanjo? And is that Aunt Natsuhi, isn't it? What's up, Aniki? I'm eating, so I'm not gonna use accents. Maybe something happened. They look terribly flustered. When Jessica and Maria saw Eva, Hideyoshi, and Nanjo were no longer in their seats and the serving cart had been abandoned in the entrance to the parlour, they also realised that something was the matter. Could there have been some kind of accident? Let's go check it out. It's no fun if we're the only ones left out, right? For some reason, what Battler said sounded extremely indiscreet, but they couldn't deny that they were a little insecure and concerned after seeing the adults run off into the rain without regards to their appearance. Let's check it out, okay? I'm worried something might have happened. Jessica's uneasy words spoke for all of them. Hey Maria, are you coming too? Or will you watch TV? Wanna watch TV? Let's go on without her. Yeah, leave the child alone. Smart idea there. Perfectly fucking smart. Maria-chan will be back soon. You keep watching TV, okay? By the time the kids made it outside, the adults were no longer inside. But Jessica seemed to have a pretty good idea where they'd gone, judging by the direction they'd been running. Following Jessica, we ran through the rain-soaked rose garden. The wind seemed to suddenly get stronger. The malicious sound of thunder began to rumble like it had the previous night. It felt like an eerie something had surrounded the island and was trying to stop us from moving forward. Jessica, is there something over this way? I'm pretty sure there's a shed for gardening tools or something. What in the world could have gone on in a place like that? Just as Jessica had said, they began to see a storehouse in front of them. They could also see the adults there. The shutter to the storehouse was open and several adults looked as though they were searching for something. For some reason, only Natsuhi was outside the storehouse, without even holding an umbrella. She looked like she was hanging her head, and her back was facing them. There was Genji, Nanjo, and Natsu who had just left the mansion. The ones who'd left earlier, Kanon, Eva, and Hideyoshi, were also there, making for a small crowd of people, but there was absolutely no bustle or activity. When Natsuhi realized the children were approaching, a terrible expression rose to her face, and she ran at them with her arms spread wide. You mustn't come any closer. Go back to the mansion. But despite that, no, because of that, the kids saw the scene Natsuhi had been trying to keep them away from. Inside the storehouse, with its shutter wide open, a faint fluorescent light shone down. And right there was... Kya! Jessica's piercing shriek rang out. But that was just because Jessica's scream was the loudest. The same thing spilled out of Battler and George's mouths as well. Eva spread out her arms just like Natsuhi, roaring at the kids with bone-chilling expression on her face. So they are in there! George, take everyone, return to the mansion, quickly. Right now. But when Natsuhi spread her arms, I thought she was trying to prevent us from advancing any further. But that wasn't why Eva was spreading her arms right now. She was trying to stop us kids from seeing that terrible scene. It was her mother's heart trying to protect the eyes of us children by blocking our view of that terrible scene by at least the width of her arms. Is this some kind of joke? Is it? I'd seen this kind of cheap scene all too often. In manga, TV, anime, and movies. I see it all over and over again. But just seeing something like this in real life that I'd seen plenty of times before is some of those more sensational movies, right? That alone shouldn't... but that suit, that's the old bastards, isn't it? Yes, they're in there! I was right! I get it then. That's Uncle Kraus and Kiri-san and Aunt Rosa. Dad! You mustn't, Jessica. You mustn't go in. You mustn't look. Dad! Dad! Ah! Rigor mortis has set in across almost the entire body. Most likely, 6 hours or more have passed since death. As far as I can tell by looking at the damage area, there is a high probability that they were damaged after death. No, I must watch what I say. I'm a general practitioner. Examining corpses is outside my area of expertise. So what's going on here? Just killing them wasn't enough? So they went on to do something like this? The devil is in this. This is the work of the devil. Aunt Nutty caught Jessica in her arms and Aunt Eva caught George Anarchy. So I was the only one who could approach the entrance to the storehouse. If only there had been someone there to catch me too. I wouldn't have needed this horrible evil scene burned into my eyes. No, that's not it. It isn't that there's no one here to catch me. The people who should catch me, they're right there, aren't they? Just as Jessica said, it looked like a storehouse for gardening tools. A lawnmower with extra blades, a grass sickle and a hammer. Some carpentry tools, such as a saw, piled up potted plants and bags of fertilizer. And treated just the same, the corpses of several people had been laid there to rest. No, had been tossed in there. I could tell them by their clothes, that old bastard and Kiri-san, Uncle Kraus and Aunt Rosa. Beyond that, Goro-san and there was still one more of them. How many people died? You're fucking kidding me. That's more than I can count on one hand, damn it! I didn't know whether it had been one of these gardening tools, which if used for something other than their intended purpose, could definitely be wielded with a naked brutality. Or whether some horrible tool had been brought in specifically for this. Anyway, each one of the bodies jammed in here had been given an atrocious makeup. It wasn't makeup, it was more like their faces had been plowed. Fuck me, bro. Their faces were smashed, forced into expressions that normal people couldn't even make after their death. Shit. I couldn't tell where their eyes or their noses were, but I could find their mouths because they were gaping wide, their gums exposed. Ooh. But their front teeth were missing, and even their cheeks that should have been covered, all of this were torn up and laid bare. That trendy makeup you always spent so much time on, even though you're a man, isn't doing a thing now. Ah, Dad! I always thought you were going to hell, but still not like this, right? You weren't such a son of a bitch that you should have had to suffer so brutally. And Kiri-san, didn't I tell you to stop going out with this guy? There's absolutely no reason for you to end up like this too. I've got no faces. No faces. Darn it. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Battler-san, you shouldn't look anymore. There's no way your mother and father would want you to see them like this. For their sakes, you mustn't look anymore. Dead people are supposed to have faces that look like they're sleeping peacefully, right? They've got no faces. My dad and Kiri-san have no faces. I don't even know what kind of faces they were wearing when they died. What's wrong with me? I'll have to see their smashed monster-like faces every time I remember them. That's just great. I didn't want to remember that old bastard's smug face anyway. Just great. Just great. But why even Kiri-san's face? Kiri-san wasn't a crook. Sure, she'd take me off now and then, but she was like a cool big older sister to me. Ooh. Interesting. This is wrong. This is all wrong. But at least Uncle Kraus has better, doesn't he? At least his whole face, it's not a whole face, it's just the side. At least he got half a face left, right? That's still better than... That's still better. No! Jessica filled her ears with the sound of her own screaming just to try and shut out my reckless words. Stop it, Battler-kun. Just stop it, just stop it, just stop it. Aniki, Aniki, ah! Disregarding the age gap in appearance, I fell to my knees, clinging to Aniki's waist and sobbing. It was as if I was crying on behalf of everyone there. Representing the feelings of everyone there, I screamed over and over.
Alex has left the room.
Father, the only ones lying of the dead of Uncle Kraus, Uncle Rudolph, Aunt Curie, and Aunt Rosa, and Godson. Just those 5, right? No. There are 6 people. There's one more person over there. The body Hideyoshi was looking down on now happened to be hidden among the shadows in that mountain of range of objects, in a blind spot to George, who stood by the entrance. So George couldn't tell whose body it was. So George cursed himself. He cursed the fact that his worst guesses always turned out to be right. So, the one lying at your feet is Shannon, isn't it? Yes, it's Shannon-chan. George felt completely silent. He shook slightly, his lower lip trembling. Normally, he would have wanted to run to his beloved's body, screaming and crying. However, before rashly rushing forward, he worked up to keep his composure and asked his father, "Is Shannon the same as Uncle Kraus and the others?" Hideyoshi deeply understood the meaning of those words, so he couldn't give George an immediate answer, or rather, he felt like the silence was the only sincere, loving response he could give George right now. When George asked if Shannon was the same, he meant to ask whether his corpse was in the same condition as the others or not. Since Hideyoshi hadn't denied it, it meant her corpse was in the same brutal state. "Can I look at Shannon?" "No, you can't." "Why not? After all, I won't be able to see Shannon's face again, right? So why won't you let me see what her face looks like at the end?" "The last time you met Shannon-chan was yesterday, right?" "Yes." "I see. When you left her, what kind of face was she showing you?" "It was a wonderful smile." After he handed her the ring, she hesitated even though she must have already made up her mind. Then she looked bashful and ran away because she was embarrassed to let him see her face looking like that. That's the expression that was revived in George's mind. "I see. Then I'm sure Shannon-chan would want to leave you with that smile in your memory." Hideyoshi looked down upon Shannon's body lying at his feet. Just like the other bodies, it was in such a horrible state to make anyone want to cover their eyes. Her head had been smashed in from the side, and no more than half her expression remained. If the remaining blood-soaked half of her expression had been wiped clean, would that graceful smile of hers have peeked out, but only half of it. Without thinking, Hideyoshi slapped his hands over his eyes. How brutal. If her face was going to be crushed anyway, then if only all of it had been crushed. He might have been able to temporarily distract George from his pain by making the pathetic suggestion that it was someone else wearing Shannon's clothes. But half of the face had been left untouched. It caused the body of such humiliation while still proving beyond a doubt that the body was Shannon's and no one else's. How inhuman, how brutish. And there, trying their best to burn the image remaining of Shannon's expression into his eyes as she laid at Hideyoshi's feet, was Kanon. Kanon was not crying. Tears had risen to his eyes, but they did not drip down. But that did not mean he wasn't feeling such sadness as everyone else. Losing Shannon, who had lived with him in the same orphanage, whom he had loved as a sister, must have been the same as losing a blood relative. George. I'm sure Shannon-chan is saying thank you. She must have been glad you didn't end up seeing her in such a pitiful state. I'm sure. She's thinking of you, holding you strong and showing restraint. I understand. I understand, Father. I understand. George leaned against the outside of the wall of the storehouse, crouching down limply. Father, I have a request. What is it? I want you to look for me. Is there a ring on Shannon's finger? A ring? Let me see. Hideyoshi crouched down. As he did, Kanon slightly pointed to one of Shannon's hands. Yeah, there is. It's a diamond ring, with a valuable diamond. Must have been pretty expensive. And which hand? Which finger is it on? The ring finger of her left hand. I see. So Shannon-chan was engaged. George, don't tell me you... Eva, that doesn't matter now. A man made a lifelong promise to Shannon-chan. A man promised her happiness for her life. Who that man was isn't the issue here. Being told that by man is a woman's dream, isn't it? I don't know when she received this ring. I also don't know who gave it to her. However, even so, Shannon-chan took this ring. Then she accepted it and put it on her left ring finger. I'm sure the man who gave it to her was also so happy. This makes me sad, because, like, from Shannon's perspective, it's, like, really happy, and then she fucking gets murdered. Like, looking at it as if the characters don't have the ages they do, this would have been a cute little relationship, and I would have been much more devastated. But Shannon was 16!
Yep. That's why I've never been able to fully get into Shannon and George.
But, like, solely seeing it from Shannon's perspective, I'm, like, viscerally upset. Because it's like, she just got engaged, she's, like, really happy, and now she's dead.
Well, Brooklyn, wait until you see Kanon and Jessica.
Kanon and Jessica? Interesting.
That's more of a chapter 2 thing, but, like, oh, I love them.
At least they're the same or similar freaking ages.
Yeah, like, only 2 years.
So most of the people there, he or she was simply disturbed by this extraordinary situation and was blurting out nonsense. However, someone who knew of George and Shannon's true relationship would understand the full meaning of those words. I see. Thank you, Father. George stood up. The trace of tears still streaked down his face, but his expression returned to its usual calm none. Let's go. Butler-kun, Jessica-chan, if we stay here any longer, we'll get in the way of the adults. You're right. Jessica sniffled once, showing her face to her mother, who had been holding her the whole time, to let her know she was okay now. When she faced George again, she once again had on her usual expression, although she still couldn't smile. Battler, hang in there. Battler kept crouching down in front of his parents' bodies. Yeah, I don't think Battler can bounce back as quickly, because George has both of his parents. Jessica has at least one. The one that she actually had, like, a semi-good relationship with, like, and had a good moment last night. I think I would be more devastated if, Natsuhi had died instead of Kraus. Not only because I like Natsuhi more, she's one of my favorite of the adult characters, but also because, like, Jessica and Natsuhi had had that cute little moment the night before. So I think I would be more viscerally upset if, Natsuhi had died. But Battler lost both of his fucking, like, parental figures.
And don't forget, his birth mother is also dead as well.
Yeah, so bro is a double orphan. I'm just gonna finish my peas and corn. Do you want to raid?
Oh, yes. Oh, wait. Oh, my own dad's here. Hi, Dad. I'm just patting Nettie while Brooklyn and I record a video. Alright, just letting you know that this is going online. I'm sorry. Crying like hell calmed me down.
It would.
You bastard, Dad. Bet you're laughing at me. After all this shit I talked about you, here I'm crying like a baby just because you died. Well, so what? I guess I got the gene that makes you cry when your parents kick the bucket.
Yeah, a normal human response.
Battler's face was still red from the tears. But he had at least recovered enough to fake a smile, if only a bitter one. Come on. You mustn't remain here any longer, Ezel. I have to do the French. Take the children and return to the mansion.
Take the children and return to the mansion. Rudolph if he was French.
Nazi had been standing under the rain this whole time, unable to take a step into the storehouse. Maybe she had her own way of grieving, different from Battler's.
Okay. I'm just finishing chewing my peas and corn.
Oh. Okay. Realizing that she had to take on the role of responsibility now that her husband was dead, she gave Kanon these orders.
Okay, I can
Yes?
talk again.
Oh, you can talk. Okay, you go.
Yes, madam. Kanon rose slightly and turned to face me. His face was pure white, almost as if his own heart had died along with Shannon. and there was no life in his expression. On an ordinary day, if he had been told to guide the children through the beautiful rose garden, Kanon might have led the way. But now there was no distinction between Kanon and the children. They were now just kids of about the same age, suffering pain of losing someone close to them.
I don't know if you just caught my brother burping from upstairs.
What's up, mate?
That time I did. After making sure that the children were leaving, Natsuki started giving orders to Genji. Genji, contact the police immediately. They probably won't be able to come until the typhoon passes, but they should be able to tell us what to do next. Understood. There is an emergency radio, so I will use that to contact them. When she heard that, Natsuki remembered. That's right, the phones were out today, weren't they? However, they also had a radio since they couldn't necessarily rely on phones all the time while living on an isolated island. At any rate, they should start by contacting the police and receiving their instructions. Everything else could wait. Dr. Nanjo, is there anything more you can do here? Unfortunately, there is nothing that I can do. Understood? Genji, could you at least cover their faces with something? Exposing them like this is humiliating to them as well. Yes, Mom. Genji picked up several dried towels from the...
Yes, Mom.
I was saying ma'am is like mom. M-A-I-M.
Mom.
Have you never heard, like...
I have no... it really did sound like you said Mom through my headphones.
I was trying to say
just
mom.
over Discord. Mom. Not to his mother.
Mother. Genji picked up several dried towels from the inside of the storehouse. When Eva stopped him with a shrill voice. Wait a second! Stop! This is the scene of a crime, isn't it? Then we mustn't disturb it. We all panicked and walked in here with our shoes on, but even then we'll surely get in the way of the police investigation, right? Natsuki glared at Eva, offended. Objectively speaking, Eva was right. Even so, she glared at Eva as though accusing her of refusing to do those tragic corpses which had been humiliated even after death. The simple kindness of covering their faces. However, Eva had spoken both calmly and correctly. This horrible situation was definitely wasn't an accident. It was a crime. Someone had killed them. It was a murder case. So they needed to be careful to avoid disturbing the site any further. They had to do what little they could to aid the police, preserving clues that might help catch the detestable culprit. I agree with Eva-san. Until the police come, we should leave everything be. What did you say, madam? Or what do you say, madam? You're right. Very well. Close it up. And just in case, we should put a different lock on it. A different lock? Yes. When we came here, the shutter was locked. That means the culprit used the key to the shutter to lock it. That makes sense. So, does that mean the key that opens the shutter will have the culprit's fingerprints on it? I'm sure it'll be worth submitting that to the police evidence. But Kanon-kun usually has it, so he used it to unlock the shed just now. So it'll probably have Kanon's fingerprint on it. Also, that key was handed to Genji-san just now, and he took it with his bare hands. Doesn't look like would be very useful evidence. That was careless of me. My apologies. Genji-san, are there any other keys to this storehouse? No, only this one.
I'm glad Hideyoshi's still alive.
I love doing Hideyoshi's voice, dude. The one that trips me up the most is Rudolph's, because Hideyoshi's came as a result of Rudolph's. Because what Hideyoshi's is what I originally tried to do with Rudolph, but then I was like, no, let's make Rudolph a bogan, and then I just fucked it from there.
I love how, even though they're two sides of the same coin, you hate one of them but love the other one.
Yeah.
Nettie, do you need to get up? Oh, Nettie.
I like doing the like semi-Cockney accent that I've done for Hideyoshi.
Oh, Nettie.
So the culprit walked out of a certain room with that key, and then was nice enough to return the key to where they found it. Hideyoshi's theory sounded plausible, but it was actually strange if you thought about it. Why would they have gone to all the trouble of returning the key they stole? No, if you think about it even more deeply, there are some points that are even more bizarre. When a criminal hides a body, they're usually trying to delay the point in which they'll be found so they can use that time to escape. The six weren't necessarily killed here, but it was reasonable to assume they were killed somewhere on this island, carried to this storehouse, and hidden to delay the discovery of the crime. And yet, the eerie magic circle scribbled on the storehouse shutter had eloquently indicated the location of the hidden corpses. Sure, it didn't explicitly mention the corpses, but 6 people had gone missing. In that situation, someone had made the obvious piece of graffiti and even returned a key to the shutter. Almost as though they wanted the corpses here to be discovered. Anyway, we can't put all our faith in a lock that the culprit has opened once before. If we want to protect this place from the culprits, I think we should put a new lock on it. I think that's a good plan. I agree. Genji, Nanjo, and Kinzo all kind of have the same voice as well. Like, Kinzo's is the most exaggerated, but, like, I try to differentiate Nanjo and Genji, but I end up kind of just doing the same voice.
Old man voice, that's what it is.
Yeah. Genji fished around inside the storehouse and unsealed a brand new padlock that had been inside the small box. What should we do with this key? I would take it. I would take responsibility and hand over to the police. Natsu took the key and padlock from Genji's hand. After that, they all exited and lowered the shutter. And so, the corpses were once again sealed behind that shutter, which was still covered with that creepy magic circle. Genji crouched down in front of the shutter to fasten the new padlock. Shutters often have a place in front where you can attach your own, in addition to the main lock of the shutter. This was one of those types. In the midst of the roar of the thunder and the pouring rain, the storehouse stood there ominously. With a closed shutter, still covered in a blood-like creepy substance. Why would you not assume that it is blood if all of them are dead now? It swallowed up the bodies of the 6. To Natsu, putting a new lock wasn't mainly to preserve the same for the police. She might have felt like she wanted to shut that mouth for all eternity, to prevent that eerie beast from swallowing up any more victims. Come on now, let's go everyone. Dr. Nanjo, thank you very much for your work. Genji, hurry and contact the police. I will do so as I return. The adults left the storehouse. The ghastly magic circle had been drawn on the shutter that the 6 bodies in its throat, looming eerily as the lightning occasionally lit it up. Crack!
Crack!
Crack. Okay. Question is, do I leave this here now because it has been 2 hours?
I reckon so.
Yeah, methinks so. So now we have the big reveal that what's it called? Oh my G, that everyone
People
is
are
in
dying?
fact dead, and literally all of the people that I wanted dead is dead. Maybe I'm Beatrice.
Maybe you are Beatrice.
Maybe. I will say, now you've got all of these people in red. I did not want Rosa, Kiri, or Shannon to die. I am very sad that those 3 died. But, like, obviously...
Why is it misogyny?
Yeah.
Misogyny!
I mean, there's an even amount of men and women who died.
Yeah.
So that's probably why. But I can say, obviously, you have the people who were still bickering about money who died. So Kraus, Rudolph, and Rosa, as well as Kiri, because Kiri always stays by Rudolph. Shannon was sort of a, what's it called? What I think happened, right? So with the blood around Natsuki's door,
Yeah.
I have 2 opinions. One is that because Shannon was, what's it called? she was like doing up the shutters and stuff. I don't think you can hear me because my internet just plummeted.
Again? Hello?
Hello? Is my internet back? Okay, yes, sorry. I just looked down into the bottom corner and saw it like shrink.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, this is what I think.
So, what I think, because I'm in two minds, because Shannon, I think the thing that actually happened is that Shannon was obviously doing the shutters, saw the glimmer of Beatrice, and was attacked, and tried to knock on Natsuhi's door, or like open Natsuhi's door to get in. My original thought, which I still think could be an option, was that Beatrice tried to get into Natsuhi's door and like left the smear of like blood there, being like, you're next or whatever. But because Jessica put the charm on it, like because Jessica gave her the charm and she actually put it on the door, she was protected. Because otherwise I think it would have been Kraus and Natsuhi, Rudolph and Kiri, Rosa and Rosa and Goda. But because of all the shit that happened with George, and because Goda's an asshole, it was what's her face? Shannon, who actually went into the house, and thus she was the sacrifice. So it's a bit convoluted. I'm in two states of mind with that. I do definitely think that the fact that it apparently looked like it'd been clawing on the door would be Shannon trying to get into the room, being like, please help me. But also, like, a majority of these characters do not believe in Beatrice. Like, of the ones that died, majority of them don't believe in Beatrice. Goddard is self-centered, so of course he wouldn't. Kanon sort of, like, Shannon denied Kanon seeing potentially Beatrice. So, it's not, I don't necessarily think it's that she doesn't believe in Beatrice. It's just that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was the first to see Beatrice.
Yeah. And Kinzo did say earlier on is that, like, it is kind of, like, a little bit random, so
yeah,
it's who Beatrice chooses, so...
Well, definitely, like, the obvious one is that they were mostly, like, not in a locked room. Whereas Natsuki, like, Eva and Hideyoshi, all of the kids, all of them were in a room, either asleep, going to sleep, or, what's it called? Or were, like, they were in a locked room, essentially. Whereas the others were in the dining hall, Gorda was in the servants' quarters, and Shannon was walking around. That's my thought process of what happened the first night. What's it called? I would really like to see Natsuhi give Jessica the little mirror, and I think the next time they have a heart-to-heart, that will happen, which will probably happen in the next couple of, I guess, paragraphs, sentences, whatever. So unfair that this family lineage is all together and no one else's is. I feel like, obviously, Battler and Maria were like, we are totally twins, we're siblings, that sort of stuff. Now that they're both orphans, they're obviously going to bond more. Maria's not really going to understand what happened, but is going to go batshit, I think, when she realizes her mother is gone. And I it's a bit weird, but I feel like Battler, Maria, and Kanon might connect by the fact that all of them are orphans. Or at the very least, Kanon will sympathize for Battler and Maria, specifically Maria. That's just my thought process, and I think Kumasawa-san is gonna, like, parent them.
All I did this episode was Kumasawa was, hey! She didn't
Yeah, you just went, hey, and then it cut off.
My one singular role in this series, and I didn't even get to talk.
I do like that Natsuhi is like still here. Out of all of the characters I like voicing, I love voicing Natsuhi and I love voicing Hideyoshi. Rudolph does my head in constantly when I'm doing his voice because I can never pin it down correctly. And then when I'm like, I've got it, this is it. The next time I talk as him, I do not have it. Voice-wise, Genji, Nanjo, and Kinzo all have the same voice, just in different inflections. Kinzo can be a mixture of either very malicious or like very overdramatic. Nanjo is just kind of the same tone over and over. And Genji is the one that actually switches up because partway through I kind of like talked the way that I talked for Kraus for him. But I tried switching back to like how I usually talk for him because Genji is a man of many mysteries. Obviously you got Valley Girl Jessica, but it's hard to do when she's like viscerally upset. We've got Silicon Valley George. Battler is just my voice. Maria like will switch depending on who has talked before. Like when I'm talking as either if I'm talking as either what's his fucking face, George or Jessica, she has a slight American accent, and I think I've just permanently given her a slight American accent. But after Battler's...
it's the echolalia, it's the autism that's doing it, because I knew a lot of autistic people who, as kids, I'm included in this population, who, because we watched so much American media, we started developing American accents. So... like, that's just what's happening with Maria, because her cousins are American.
Yes. Which is funny, because Kraus has a very, like, booming, posh Australian voice. Nazi is French, and Jessica is American. Maybe she's Canadian. Maybe she
needs to go car. I want to drive a car.
What's it called? Battler is kind of just my voice with a little extra pep in it. Natsuhi is you. Kanon.
What, you think Kurosawa is me, not Natsuhi?
Yeah, Natsuhi's me. No,
you heard my Natsuhi voice before.
Kurosawa-san is obviously you, and then what's his name? Kanon is like goes between a flat version of Battler or is like it's like a mixture of when I talk as Battler and when I talk as Genji. That's kind of what Kanon is, because I tried to give him a small voice but it's really hard, so so that's so I'm glad I don't have to do Rudolph's that much, and I don't have to flip between Rosa and George, and Rosa and fucking Natsuhi, and Rosa and Hideyoshi, and oh my god.
Well, Brooklyn, this is the When They Cry series, so I'll get you to infer what you can from that. In relation to Rudolph.
In relation to Rudolph. Well, what's it called?
And voicing him.
And voicing him?
Yes.
Well, obviously he's gonna come back. They wouldn't introduce these characters to then just kill them off for the rest of the game that has like over a freaking 100 hours. And this is just the question arcs. There's a whole separate game for the answer arcs.
Yes, because everyone. No, you know what happens in Higurashi. I don't think I have to explain what's going to happen as soon as chapter/episode 2 rolls around.
Yeah. I'm assuming obviously it's gonna be a like time slip kind of thing, like they did with Higurashi, where I don't know what that's the thing is, you've already told me about the two characters who are like Satoko and Rika but aren't.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm just
Vern and Lambda.
Yeah. So it's like, my brain's like, well, Hanyu couldn't possibly freaking exist on this island. So I'm assuming Beatrice is like a Hanyu-like character, because she's this big deity and shit. and then maybe Battler is the Rika of this version, or it could just like totally 180 and it's like, no, actually, it's fucking Kanon. That's the main character of everything. So
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Like, you know what? If you had put that idea to me before, no, if this was also the first time I was going through Umineko, I'd be like, you know what? I also hope Kanon's going to be the main character in the second half. That would just be interesting. So yeah, nah. So Burn and Lambda, I don't know how to describe them. They're just Rika and Satoko, but they're witches.
I mean, they look like witches, so...
Yeah. They're the same species as Beatrice.
Yeah. So, species.
It's a species.
Well, now I kind of have confirmation, obviously, that Shannon and Kanon are obviously humans. Maybe in an alternate universe they're not, but,
Oh, I won't get into that.
But yeah. Obviously, we went through the Steam page before I, like, started this game, and there are more characters that I'm missing. And obviously, I also have, the sticker sheet with a bunch of extra characters. I could only assume that either they're reinterpretations of the current characters we have, like, I don't know, the purple head bitch is Natsuhi because she's also purple, but,
Wait, oh, hold on, let me open my sticker book and find which page I put those stickers on so I remember. Because I love how you just bought that sticker sheet and you only knew who, like, 3 of the characters were. Oh, yeah, the purple-haired lady. That's Vigilia. I want to voice her when she shows up.
Okay. But,
Then we've got Renove and... who else? I think those are the only 2 you haven't been introduced to yet. Aside from Burn and Lambda, but yes.
Yes. Well, you already told me about them, because they're so similar to Rika and Satoko. So in my head, they are just Rika and Satoko, and they somehow just came to an island in... No,
because the thing is, like, there's actual monologue from Burn where it's like, oh yeah, my past such and such, and like, basically what happened to Rika. So it's like,
they're the same person. Interesting.
Same things.
Interesting. Knowledge. So,
You get a little, I'm feeding you today. You know what? I've just, like, grabbed a whole handful of mashed potato and I've just, like, shoved it down your throat. It's a pretty gory, violent image, but that's what this is looking like. That's the amount of information I've given Brooklyn.
Yes, sorry, I just need to double check that I...
was recording?
No, I have to double check that I've got the load in the right place. So let me just open it again. Because my anxiety brain just went, you saved it at the right point, yeah? Yes, I did. Because this is when they come back from the rain.
Hooray!
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I can now just exit. Jesus. Title back. Yes.
Like Maria!
Maria is best character, hands down. I want to see Maria be friends with
a cloud.
I want to see Maria be friends with, what's it called? The Satoko and, Rika characters. Because, you know, they'll just be fun.
I feel like that's a chapter 4 thing. I think that's a chapter 4 thing, Brooklyn.
Well...
But, like,
but, like... What's it called? Just because, like, Maria likes witches. And I feel like Beatrice is gonna treat Maria kindly, because she already has. She, like, made Maria her messenger, so clearly Maria is important somehow to Beatrice. So, yeah, can't wait to see that.
And there's also other characters that do get, I was gonna say diagnosed as a witch, but I don't think that's right. But they, I guess, become witches over time.
Converted witches.
Converted witches.
Yes.
Oh, do you want to guess who does? because there's a few who we've already been introduced to.
I would say probably Jessica, maybe Battler. I would really love if Natsuhi did, but I feel like it would be really funny if Kumasawa did as well. You know?
I won't say anything.
Well, I feel the obvious answer is Jessica, and depending on if men can be witches, maybe Battler and Kanon. I do not see George becoming a witch whatsoever. So yes,
Alright,
I have.
okay, I'm gonna shut my mouth now.
Yes,
It's it.
I have very complicated feelings about the George and Shannon relationship because, like, again,
'Cause I've got the exact same feelings as you
if
with
they
it.
hadn't had like predetermined ages, I would be 100% for it. I'll be ooey gooey, loving that, so adorable. That's why I had to check like Shannon's age because I'm like, I love this for her. She's getting married. That's so cute. But she's getting married to George, who's my age, and it's like that's a 16-year-old. That's so gross.
Yeah. Like, how many years different is that? Is that like 7 years?
9, 20, 21, 22, 23. It's about 8.
8. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, love that. Well, it's 7 to 8 years, yeah, depending on when
Yeah.
Shannon's actual birthday is.
Yeah. Oh.
Because, yeah, I was completely convinced that Shannon was, what's it called? Was Jessica and Battler's age, because they're 18.
I thought you were gonna say I was convinced that Shannon and Jessica were shipped together.
No, I was convinced they were all the same age, because the way they were interacting, it seemed like it, but... That's why I got so confused when you were like, oh, Shannon's 16. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that before you started to get like, oh, this is so cute. Because, like, I would rather hear no.
Which, fair enough. Okay, well, I think that's all for today. I'm going to stop here. And I will see you next week for the next edition of Umineko Monday. Everything is getting all interesting. And what do you guys think? Let me know. Do we like the voices? Do we hate them? Are we sad Rudolph died? Or are we sad Rudolph died? Or do we love that Rudolph died? Please let me know down in the comments. Bye.